Welcome to this lesson on water management. We're still ploughing on with the challenge of resource management, and this one we're looking at water, and it's a really precious resource that's obviously, I think a lot of the time it's taken for granted, particularly in the UK, that we have running clean water on tap all of the time, and a lot of people around the globe just don't have that. So this might put it into a little bit of context for you. Okay, 96.5% of the world's water is found in the oceans, which is not really usable for mankind unless you've got a desalination plant, and there's very few of those around the world. Only 2.5% of our water is fresh water. Okay, and then when you break down that fresh water, nearly 70% of that is locked up in glaciers and ice caps, and the rest is trapped in the ground, or is surface or fresh water. And then when we break that down, so that's another 1.2%. A lot of the water in the ground is frozen, so is inaccessible. And then we're looking at these things here as to where we can actually get our water. So from our lakes, soil moisture, swamps, marshes, rivers, and then there's small percentages of water in the atmosphere and living things. So there is a tiny amount of water available for humans to actually use. Now, your first activity is there. The table's on your worksheet. But all you have to do, pop in what you think pop in what your family's average use is. Okay, how much of that water of that consumes per litre, how many litres used per activity, and then the total number of litres. Okay, so you can have a go at that. Okay, and then we're just going to consider sort of water resources in the UK. So don't forget, water supply is the provision of water by individuals, communities, public bodies or companies. We have a lot of companies involved in our water supply. The water demand is the quantity of water required to meet our needs. So what you're hoping is across the country is that the supply is greater than the demand. There's more water available for people than they actually need. And then we transfer water through water transfer schemes from areas where there's excess supply to where there's areas of demand. Okay, so some keywords there. You could watch this video here, it's excellent. Okay, and then you can read the web page here. I'll show you that in a moment. Okay, in the UK we use a lot of water. Now globally we're probably not in the very top countries for water use, but we do use 175 litres of water per day, and in Bangladesh it's only 83 litres of water per day. Only 4% of the drinkable water in the UK is actually consumed for drinking. Okay, the rest is used for flushing toilets, washing clothes, cleansing, and so on. Even though every drop that arrives in your house is drinkable. Our demands on water have gone up by 70% since 1985 because our population's increased a lot over that time period. Our personal habits have changed, so people shower more regularly, whereas people in the past would have had less frequent baths. We're wealthier, so we have more water intensive machines like dishwashers, washing machines, power washers. Our farms are using more water through irrigation systems and water in greenhouses, and our industrial uses have increased as well. Okay, particularly for electricity and things like that. So we have got issues with providing water. You've got a map here of rainfall in the UK. Mainly towards the west it's wetter, and in our upland areas it's wetter as well. So you've got Exmoor and Dartmoor, and then you've got the Snowdonian mountains up here in the north of Wales. You've got the Lake District across here, the southern uplands, all the way up through Scotland. All our upland areas, and in the west they are wetter than in the east where it is drier. Okay, so quite big differences in the water results. We've got more water falling in the west than in the east. Okay, and the reason for that is a lot of our weather comes from the west. A lot of our air masses blow across the Atlantic out here, hit the United Kingdom, and then we get frontal rainfall where the rains, the warm air is lifted over cold air, producing clouds, and then that rains. And the air also gets shoved up in the air by our mountains and cools as it rises, so we get relief rainfall there as well. Okay, so you've got those statistics there. It's wetter in the west than in the east, and particularly in the northwest. In terms of the population, unfortunately, more people live down towards the southeast than in the northwest, where all the rain falls. So, most people in the UK live in England. Okay, we have got the sort of Edinburgh to Glasgow corridor up here, and then pockets of cities in the northeast and South Wales. But the vast majority of people live within that shape that I've marked on there. About 50% of the United Kingdom's population live in that tiny sliver that's marked on your map. So obviously there's a disparity between where the rain falls and where the people live, and that's where water transfer comes in. Okay, so there's a little table on there for you to summarise what you've found out there. Okay, so in terms of tasks, they were on the slides there, but I'll just show you the worksheet. Okay, so you can fill out the table. You know, work out your family's average use, your estimate, total number of litres there, and then complete the definitions by typing in the boxes that are there. Read the web page, why we're using more water than in the past, and then you just describe the maps by finishing off those sentences there under numbers 5 and 6. Okay, good luck.